Where is?
And I'm Admiral Murphy.
Really? That I would never have thought, considering how long we've been doing this right now.
What? I cannot
What?
believe that. Anyway, welcome to Foundry Files. So yeah, we're the 100% podcast devoted to the Foundry of Star Trek Online and Neverwinter. Until they come out. They haven't come out yet. And sadly, there's been no news in the Neverwinter fun on Foundry. Along with Stowe, not much news this week compared to last week where we got all that interesting tidbit stuff and cool features. But we got some reviews for you this week. Coming up, we'll be reviewing the Cleon mission, A New Breed of Warrior. We've also got a new segment where we're going to give you tips on different ways to make your Foundry mission better based on categories we use in our score sheet, like plot, characters, touchstoning, space gameplay, all those categories. We're going to be, every episode we're going to focus on one of those categories and give you some tips on how to improve these categories within your mission. So if you're looking for a mission that focuses on plot and you want to know how to write a good plot, this week we'll be covering that. So we'll have that to talk about. Then, coming up later, we're going to have our first segment, I guess, of Foundry discussion, where we just have a discussion on a certain aspect of the Foundry. And this week we're going to be giving 5 tips to reviewing Foundry missions for non-Foundry authors, and we'll be talking about that a little more when we get there. And then we'll wrap up the show with community feedback. So I have to say, even though we don't have a lot of news, I am certainly pumped. So why don't we roll right in to our reviews.
This week on Spotlight of the Foundry, Relics by Kirkfight. The Klingon Empire is occupying a planet for unknown reasons. You are sent to investigate why the Klingons are so concerned with a world of insignificant military value.
This week we'll be focusing on plot, and here are some tips and tricks to creating an awesome plot in your Foundry mission. First of all, look at some Star Trek episodes to see if you can draw inspiration from them, especially if you're having trouble coming up with a plot that you want to write about. Expound on any ideas there, and use some of them as a starting point for a mission plotline. There are tons of episodes from Star Trek to use, and you don't even have to use just one. Use ideas from multiple episodes and combine them, maybe. Check for plot holes. Have someone run through your mission to give you feedback. It's easy for an author to miss an obvious plot hole sometimes. And then, plot twists are a great way to make a story interesting. Try throwing one in eventually. And also, having a mystery is a great way to keep player interest. And then, some of Star Trek's greatest stories include having a moral lesson taught in the story. Try pulling that off in one of your missions. There's some quick tips for having a great plot in your Foundry mission.
Welcome to our review of the week of A New Breed of Warrior, a KDF mission.
Kapla!
Right, okay. As of this recording, it has 47 players with an average star rating of 3.74 and happened to be a Foundry Challenge number 3 entry, and our resident author is Suridum from UTC.
So, Foundry Challenge 3, I believe that one was where people had to create that like holographic holodeck thing or whatever. I forget the exact challenge. I probably should have looked it up before we started. But it was something to do with holograms in a holodeck or something, like a malfunction. Because I remember there being a whole bunch of holodeck missions coming out. So I believe that's what this challenge was about. And this mission fits it. So, and it was. I have to say, I did enjoy this mission. So I'm excited to talk about it. So let's go into story here. A secret research facility has been experimenting with captured Federation technology, and the research facility, it hasn't reported in at all. It's gone dark. So, it's up to you to make contact with the station and find out what's happened. Search the Kalis expanse for the missing outpost and figure out what's gone wrong. A pretty interesting plot here dealing with the Cleons and how they use holographic technology. I mean, we have not really seen Cleons and how they use holographic technology at all, and we see it all the time on the Fed side for entertainment and stuff. So I really like seeing how these Cleons were going about using it. And it feels very much like the Star Trek episodes The Big Goodbye from The Next Generation and Flesh and Blood from Voyager.
Or a combination of both of them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those were like the 2 big holographic episodes of those series, and this one just feels like a big Cleon holographic episode, and it was really fun to play through and just see what they were doing with this stuff. Characters were average. None of them really stick out through the whole story. This wasn't really a heavy character-driven mission. I don't even think there's like one guy you talk to, and I don't know if he gives you a name or anything, but other than that, it's just really driven by the plot in this one and less character development wise. The dialogue was really well written in this one. It really felt like it was Cleons that were speaking the dialogue, whereas it's not just some Fed writer coming in and writing Cleon dialogue who has no idea what they're doing. I mean, he writes a podcast in Cleon character. I think he's managed to pull it off in a Foundry mission quite well, Mr. Wee Wee.
Oh yeah, you'd have to expect that, really.
Yeah, and
what he's done is actually really, really good.
I really enjoyed it. So thumbs up on dialogue there. There were no canon contradictions and a few touchstoning references, like the Wadi game. I smiled when I saw that. I didn't get to see that in the first playthrough because it's kind of, we'll get into that for replayability, but I didn't get to see that in the first replaythrough. And I just flipped out and was like, oh, the Wadi game, I love that thing. It was such a cool idea. I want that in Stowe Cryptic, so go make it. Go make us the Wadi game so we can go play it at Quark's Bar, because I want that. They also mentioned like Domjot and the Cleon death ritual thingy.
Yeah, the Cleon death ritual. Yeah, that's what it's called, yeah.
Cleon Heritage Master Wee Wee, would you care to tell us what this is? Because Fed player.
Well, basically, the Cleon death ritual is where, upon the death of a nearby comrade, a Klingon will go over to them, open their eyes, and then scream into Stovacor, beware, a warrior is coming. Basically, it's a scream like, rah! Straight into the heavens is what it is.
Oh, okay. Weird.
It's like one of those parody pictures you see on Google. It's just like, OMG, there's a spider on the ceiling. And it's just a picture of Klingons looking at the ceiling doing the ritual.
Nice. Alright, and then we got a little bit of minor spelling and grammar issues. I only picked up on a little bit of spelling, like 1 or 2, and then like 1 or 2 grammar issues. So nothing major there. Just have somebody go through it and pick it up. There's one in your intro dialogue box, Iridium, so if you're watching this, check your intro dialogue box. I remember there being a spelling issue there, so there's one of them for you. Story scored a 7.64, so it's our 15th ranked in story. So pretty good score there in story, 7.64, pretty good.
Oh, definitely.
Alrighty, and now on to technical, where we talk about everything that makes this mission work, and the one that our Foundry authors seem to love quite a bit. First of all, very nice space maps. Systems, because really there's only the one main space map you go into, but he's managed to make it where, using triggers and stuff, it is an exploration map. So let me explain it. So when you first warp into the Foundry mission, there's nothing really there except a few blinking like nav beacons. So when you fly up to one, the whole system appears around you, and depending on what nav beacon you go to, triggers a certain system, and they all look really different. Like there was one with a Cleon mining base, that was cool to see. One with a secret Federation outpost in a nebula. It was like completely blue nebula, and then there was like this I don't even know what to call it. It was like that star base that was like, it was built out of like the Cleon, the Romulan, and Deep Space Nine combined together.
Oh yes, yeah.
It was just weird to see. And so just exploring through all these different systems is really fun to do, and we will talk about that in gameplay, but really great technical work here, because there is not another mission out there that we've played or heard of that does this, and it really does feel like you're like exploring, which is weird on the Cleon side because you never do that, but here it works because you're searching for this outpost and doing other little things, and it's just fun and awesome.
I don't think we've ever seen another mission that actually has a single space map all round and does this kind of thing. So definitely something unique we reviewed here on the Foundry Files, and something very unique overall, in fact, in the Foundry.
Yeah, I know when we'll see some authors use triggers to drop you out of a warp field into a system, and then even less to take you from a system into a warp field to another. But this just does it so many times that it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And avoids so many transitions. Bam! I think that's awesome. That you just managed to avoid that many transitions. Because if you just had to hit walls of transitions over and over and over again, boring. You don't hit that many loading screens. You have awesome job of avoiding all these transitions, Ceridium. Cool. Then there's some pretty great art asset usage to create the space maps. I mean, I was looking around, I'm like, using having the planets like above you sometimes or on the same level or below and all this other junk there, I really like that. I looked at these systems like, this looks like something I'd actually see in a real mission, because some of them look kind of plain sometimes in other missions where it's just a planet or whatnot, but this had some extra detail thrown in there that I really enjoyed. One of them I know you kind of called out was that weird space station. You felt that was just kind of too weird to have the Deep Space Nine and the Romulan together.
It looked good, but you could easily see the meshing together of the two assets. It looked a little weird and a bit basic, really.
Yeah,
So maybe a little more fleshing out on that kind of thing to make it the star base much more unique, but it's a good concept.
I know it definitely caught our eyes when we first worked in. We're like, what? Whoa! So I think that's what we were going for that. But and then now I found the ground map to be the exterior one to be quite enjoyable. It wasn't as good as the space maps, but I found it to be quite enjoyable. Wee Wee wasn't as impressed. Do you want to say why?
Well, primarily because on the space map you can do a lot more, whereas on the ground map you're basically limited to a single type of map. You can't change it at all. You can't change the structure of the map. It's you pick the ground basic map and you stick with it. I mean, you could kind of go there with building your own interiors, but then even there it's limited because you can easily fall down or miss the waypoint, that kind of stuff. So it's limited inside of itself because of the game mechanics, but maybe more fleshing out could have been done on the ground map to make it better, but in my opinion it's still not as good as how fleshed out the space one was.
Now, I wasn't quite impressed with the he built like a little shrine or something.
Oh yeah.
Where there's like a few Cleons you can like rescue and kill or whatever, and I thought that was really cool. Like I first ran around across that in my first playthrough, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of sweet. And then there's like another part where it's like ledges and stuff with steps, and as you go up, there's more Cleons standing around, and I fought on that. And that was really cool to see. So there was some little nice use of art assets to create those objects, because I know they're not in the Foundry. It's just one thing you can place down. So he definitely took time to build some of that stuff. And it's just completely off to the side and optional. So check it out when you're playing through this mission. Feel free to explore, because there's going to be some cool stuff off to the edges of the map to check out. User help had some detailed instructions. The objective dialogue on the side always was clearly stating, from what I saw, what you had to do and where you had to go and all that stuff. So good job there. People should have an easy time navigating through this mission. And then there was a minor Foundry limitation, very minor. But when so during the mission you have to free some Cleons, and then they go and fight a dude. But then after they're done fighting the dude, they go back into their like tied up position. So it's like, didn't I just free you? That was kind of weird, but it's a Foundry limitation. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't change the behavior, but it's very minor. Tech scored a 7.58, 10th ranked in technical, so pretty good there as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Foundry Game Master Magician Wee Wee. I moved my headset. I should fix that. Okay, go.
Anyway, let's start out with Space Gameplay Show. It was pretty engaging. There's the standard stuff like reach markers, interactive objects, but they are expanded upon more in this mission, which is a good thing, because there are lots more optional interactive objects, which then in turn lead to sub-objectives and optional things to do within the mission. Fantastic for choices and to just blunder through the mission or take your time, depending on what the captain wants. Really makes you feel like a boss. There's a variety of things to do besides blowing up fed ships to do, including resupplying allied bases, so that kind of stuff. It's a nice variety of what you actually do over there, so pretty good in that side of things. And speaking of blowing up fed ships, space combat was also pretty engaging. You have stacked enemy groups, which makes combat interesting. The groups are not too difficult either, because the stacked groups are lower leveled mobs, so they're not too difficult. So that multiple battleships on top of each other will blow you into pieces in a second or something. And there are some enemy groups placed inside enemy bases to give the illusion of base defenses.
I like
Definitely
that.
something always really good. Yes,
That
in the Foundry,
was fun.
because there's no turrets in the Foundry to use. So placing it inside an object where they can't move and they fire, definitely want a thumbs up here.
Thumbs up for me, because I don't know how to do it. I could probably try to pull it
Yeah.
off, but I'm not able to do it. So
You have to have some kind of art asset which is big and bulky and has an inside of it which no NPC can get through. So something like DS9 would be extremely difficult to pull off, because
yeah,
it's also thin and that kind of stuff. But anyway, ground gameplay on that side of things was functional. It's not as fleshed out as space gameplay. There are multiple interactive objects nevertheless, however they are not as optional as to the extent of being in a different location.
yeah.
As mentioned before, this could be considered a Foundry limitation because of the sheer one-dimensional nature of picking a map and sticking with it. I talked about that a bit earlier, but there's normal stuff besides that, so not as fleshed out and that kind of things.
Well,
Ground combat?
I do want to just throw in here, it's a little tougher to do that, I know, but I think, wasn't Irish creating a mission where he was trying to make it where you could transfer to multiple maps? I remember he was showing it to us. It's not done yet, but it was like you were in a holodeck, and then you transported out of the holodeck to Colony, and then back into the holodeck, and then he was going to have you go somewhere else in an interior or something like that. I mean, it's not. It's
limits
difficult.
what you can do. Yeah, he could have pulled it off, but it's quite limited.
Very difficult, and it's not like you can
Yeah.
go from that forest map you're into an ice planet map without a map transfer. So.
Mm. But anyway, ground combat was interesting. There are stacked enemy groups like space combat, which makes it interesting. Not too difficult either because the lower level mobs as space combat. However, the groups on their own are minimal leveled groups and are extremely easy to defeat, pick off, making it hardly a challenge of any class really. I mean, you could go log on a science with Act 2 gear and blow these things to Kingdom Come and they just die in one shot, so maybe a little re-leveling there would be a good idea, but stacking groups definitely works.
I also like that some of the groups will appear out of nowhere as you go along, so it's kind of like a surprise. Like,
Yeah.
here they come, and that's always a cool thing to see. And also a bonus because I love it whenever an author includes optional combat, because sometimes I just want to avoid combat because it slows down the mission. Sometimes I don't have enough time to play, or sometimes I just want to test out my ship and kill stuff, especially if I'm playing on an alt. So I like having that choice of optional combat, which this mission offers tons of with all this optional stuff you can do. And I think that's a highlight of this, like, so much optional stuff you can do in this mission that makes it exciting.
Great. We'll cover that in a minute. But first of all, there was an interesting word puzzle during the mission. This is down to the player if they can remember a certain word, which happens to be a Klingon word, and then spell it correctly.
No.
I know that caused you a lot of problems there, Murph.
No. Well, the problem I had was I remembered the first letter was a J. And for whatever reason, the Foundry interface didn't make it look like a J with the curve. It was just a long I or whatever.
Text.
And it took me about a minute to figure out, is this I supposed to be a J? And then I was like, oh, okay. And by then, I forgot the word because I didn't write it down. Because I was like, oh, I'll just run over here quick and remember how to spell the word. And because I got stuck on
Just
that.
as a note, the J is the one under the I.
But it was mixed up everywhere. Shut up. Anyway, move on. Move on. Just
Replayability was mentioned a minute ago. There it is present in this mission. The space map really makes replayability awesome because there are so many optional objectives to go to. Every time you play it, you can go to different ones, all of them, or none at all. Because every time you just go straight into one, the reach marker pops, and you can do part of the mission if you wanted to. It really makes it really awesome to just go back in the mission and see what else was happening.
Yeah, that's what happened
And
for
not
me.
only that, there is an alternate ending at the end. But it is limited, but it does round up the mission based on how you yourself have experienced it and how you've gained perspective on the situation at hand. Spoilers.
But yeah, so I just love it because it's not a big like alternate ending like what we saw with Captain Revo's.
It's a minor one, yeah.
But like you get the pop-up that when the mission ends, and then you get a dialogue pop-up where you can make your choice, and that's kind of cool. And I like that. So it's a little bit of an alternate ending there.
Overall, gameplay scored an 8.16, which put it in third place, which is extremely high, and this is definitely a gameplay mission for you. If you want that kind of stuff, optional things, interactable stuff, if you want to feel like a captain, definitely play this mission. It's a very good Klingon mission all round, no major complaints in any of the categories, and it's a fun, unique KDF mission. If you're looking for a run KDF mission, check this one out, because it's ranked #1 as our KDF missions as of this recording.
This is actually...
And overall...
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Give us the overall score, Mr. Wee.
Overall, it scored a 7.79, which put it in 7th place.
Pretty good. I have to say...
Sorry, review we had.
I have to say, when I finished this mission up, I was like, I usually don't enjoy Klingon Foundry missions as much. This one was like the first one I went, that was really fun. And so, so bonus points there, because it made me want to play more Klingon missions like this. And... it was awesome. I mean, even looking at the gameplay, I mean, the combat isn't as good as some other missions, but you got so much optional stuff thrown in there, and so much non-combat stuff thrown in there, that it just makes it so much fun that you have all these choices, which you don't get to see. Usually you're just stuck on these railroad tracks from point A to B. But this, you go from point A to B with a whole bunch of different like branches and stuff, and it's really cool. So, thumbs up there. Again, 7.79. Really good. I like that score, Wee Wee. And you know what I also like? A Foundry discussion. So let's go into that. Greetings, general tips. Oh, sorry. There should be a comma there. I mean, we've got today for you general tips on those non-Foundry authors who are reviewing missions, because we all know as Foundry authors, how many bad reviews do we get that we go, if you were a Foundry author, you wouldn't be giving me this review. Like, we get all those reviews. It's like, where are my stinking BOF points? Why can't I get more BOF points for this hour-long mission?
Review that says this mission is stupid.
Yeah, I mean, so today we want to have a bit of a discussion on 5 quick tips. Now, there's tons more out there, but these are 5 quick tips that we find very important for those people, those non-Foundry authors, when they go and review missions, because most of them already think that we have as much power as the devs, which we don't. All we have is a screwdriver and a stinking, like, saw. That's about it. Out of the cryptic toolbox. That's about it. Other than that, not much at all. I mean, we're pretty limited when it comes to stuff like that, and a lot of people don't realize that. So, and that's the problem for them when it comes to reviewing a Foundry mission, is they don't know all what we can do. So we're here today to educate those of you with 5 quick tips when it comes to reviewing Foundry missions. So, why don't we get started with tip number 1, Wee-Wee. Don't score a mission based on stuff a Foundry author can't do, which is kind of what we were already talking about. The author is forced into limitations on the Foundry itself, and it's difficult for non-Foundry authors to see these limitations, because they don't know what they are. They really don't. So, no, but you, a tip here is check it out at least. I mean, we don't want to force you to go into that, and that's what we're trying to avoid with these tips, is to force you from going to Foundry. But I do want to say, at least, if you really are worried about yelling at a Foundry author on something they can't have control over, just take a look at the tool. Even if you don't intend on building anything, just take a quick look around and see what they actually can or can't do. Or ask a Foundry author. It's like, hey, can Foundry authors do this? Because I have a little bit of complaint about this mission. And a Foundry author will easily let you know, oh, a Foundry author can't do that. Such as, like...
It is a bit of an iffy subject, because a non-Foundry author spotting a Foundry limitation is probably one of the most difficult things to actually conjure up.
Yeah.
You never know what a limitation is and actually explore the tool itself. So maybe PM the author is an idea, but again, it's limited in what the actual person reviewing the mission actually deduces what is a limitation or isn't. That kind of stuff, like rewards, or let's take NPC movements, which has recently come in. It moves on the map. It can't do that yet. No. But in the dialogue it says.
Well, it's on Tribble right now, but
and yeah, it's in Tribble right now. And somebody would go, well, why didn't this character move? It clearly said in the dialogue 1 star. This is stupid.
Yeah.
But PMing the author for something like that is a good idea, because then the author will say, I can't move this because there's a Foundry limitation, and then they could adjust their review accordingly.
Yeah, like I know for one of my missions I had a dude beam out, but before we couldn't have NPCs disappear. So I just would say in the dialogue something like along the lines, this character beams out. Now somebody can complain, it's like, why doesn't the character just beam out? Well, now we have the ability to do that, but back then that was a limitation a Foundry author couldn't control. And a Foundry author would know that and not dock the author for that when they wrote up their little review on it. But a player wouldn't know that. They'd think, oh, they can do it just like Cryptic, because in Cryptic's missions they can do that. So a Foundry author could probably do that as well, but no, that's not the case. And what also isn't the case is our big one here is rewards. Foundry authors cannot control mission rewards, or else you would see console clickies that gave you 2 billion dilithium per console F button thing.
Just to be honest, awesome.
Seriously, so don't be mad at the Foundry author, be mad at Cryptic. The Cryptic's the one who sets the rewards for each mission, not the author. Forum rage, not review rage. So don't complain about rewards ever in your Foundry review. Go onto the forums and complain to Cryptic if you really have to. And yes, Wee-Wee, I am supporting forum rage in this one instance. Should Wee-Wee, why don't you go to point number 2 here? So here's our second tip for you guys.
And that is, don't blame the author for bugs that have caused the mission to break. For example, falling through the floor 800 feet down for a map or an interior that is placed 800 feet in the air, as we've seen on quite a few of our missions actually we've reviewed here. And falling through the floor, which is actually a recent bug that probably still exists as far as my knowledge goes, but there is the bug where the spawn point puts you under or inside the actual art asset itself, so you can just fall through the floor 800 feet and then die. So that kind of thing is obviously a bug. Don't blame the author for it because they have no control over the Foundry
Yeah,
bug.
I've seen that in pre-made maps even, where I beamed into a pre-made map and was stuck in the floor, and it was like, what? And I know that was not the author's fault, because there's no way that happens, because even if you try to put them under the floor, I don't think it works. I've never tried it purposely, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't work, because anytime you spawn them above, they'll just fall through. I don't think you can spawn them below, because even when... There used to be a trick where you could put buffs outside the walls of, like, a room, where you could easily then just have a mission where it was just your captain, but I'm pretty sure they made it that this doesn't work anymore. So, I'm pretty sure...
They place the boss a bit closer to the captain in Season 4, so it's a lot more difficult now.
Yeah, so I don't know how that works, but yeah, never blame the author for these type of bugs. And if you're ever questioning that type of stuff, check the forums, because if Foundry authors are noticing this, they're posting on the forums about this bug. So if you ever, or just PM the author and say, I'm having this problem with your mission. Is this something you can fix or whatnot? Don't just dock them for that, because I know back when the holodeck bug came out, where you beamed into a holodeck and were stuck there. 1-star reviews were really common like that first couple hours. And it was Foundry author was just like, well, duh, this is broken. Plus the component complete was broken as well. And that's something Foundry authors knew, but players didn't. And there's stuff like that you just need to factor into your reviews, especially if you're not just playing through the mission, but you're actually going to write up a review on the mission. I think overall, that's when I really recommend overall just to actually check out the Foundry editing tool, because at that point, if you're really going to start picking apart a mission, you really need to check out the tool there. But these are just general tips for you when you're just playing through a mission.
Some bugs are fixed by dropping the mission a couple of times and going back into a different instance of it, so try doing that a couple of times and maybe it'll fix it. But there are a few bugs out there where it's a Foundry bug completely and you can't do anything about it. Some are instance bugs like that 800 feet drop, but things like the component complete, which was around for a while as you mentioned, that was a Foundry bug.
Yeah.
No author could help that, so...
No. Which kind of sucks, but... Alright, point number 3. Do not blame the author for doing something that has happened because of your own actions. What does that mean, Wee-Wee?
This basically means that finding a hole in the wall that you can't find a way out of and then blaming the author for going there yourself in the first place. Something that you should address to the author and not give them 1-star because it's your fault. Or another example is not being able to finish the mission due to your own time constraints. It's not the author's fault, it's your fault for doing something that you shouldn't have done in the first place. It's your fault for doing it. Don't blame the author for something you did. In fact, there's a general like it. Don't blame something you don't actually you did do yourself.
Yeah, now the hole in the wall could be argued, and I'd make the argument that the author should patch that up. But I remember with remember when they broke a whole bunch of missions and then they had to take down the Foundry editor so you couldn't fix your mission or whatever during Season 4, and Jeremy had the problem in his mission where he got so many 1-star reviews because it was broken. But also looking at it, you had those crates off to the side on this map, and it's the same for every version of this map, so no matter what mission, there were crates on the map that you couldn't move because they were already built into that map. And if somebody wanted to jump on those crates, they could easily get stuck and not be able to finish the mission because they're stuck in the crates. That's something the Foundry author can't control, and that's kind of what I take as a better example here, is pre-made stuff that you can get stuck on. And there was really no reason, because I went and looked at this map, to be jumping on those crates, because your objective was far away. This was like in the corner, and there was no reason to be jumping on these crates other than just go, oh, I can jump on these crates, dude, oh, I'm stuck, this mission sucks. And again, time constraints. I saw on several of my reviews, and my missions aren't that long, they're about an hour, that I got a review saying the person, it wasn't like they were bored of the mission, it's like, I didn't have time to finish it, 1 star.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Don't blame the author for actions you yourself have caused you not to complete the missions, like time constraints. It's not the author's fault you didn't have time to play. You shouldn't have been playing it. You shouldn't have been playing it in the first place if you're going to have 5 minutes before going to work or something.
Yeah, and
it's not the author's fault you did that.
And usually the author's giving you the time of how long it takes to play the mission. So again, if you can't fit it in there, it's not something you should be complaining about. Honestly, is the time it takes to complete a mission. Now, maybe a 3-hour-long mission, unless the author tells you it's 3 hour long, then yes, that's something maybe you should complain about. But other than that, that's something that you just want to avoid, is things that aren't... It's things that you cause to be a problem, not the author causes to be a problem. Number 4, tip number 4 here, constructive criticism. Oh my god, it's the internet. When are we ever going to see constructive criticism? But we want to see it. Okay, we're going to start
talking to people.
Yes.
Yeah, not machines. These people have feelings. I don't feel good about reviews that say this sucks with a 1-star at something they spent days on. Because foundry authors literally do that. I mean, some of the authors that really put their missions into work, like Alan Mack, spend months on their missions, and only to get a review that says 1-star, I can't complete this. This
just sucks. They don't even give a reason like they can't complete it. They just say this sucks. You suck. Worst thing ever. You should go die.
Yeah.
And I actually saw a review like that. It's like, you don't deserve to live anymore. I was like,
smiley faces or
what?
sad faces. I remember that one.
Oh, yeah, I got on my mission. For the Gemidar Alliance, it's a 6-part series. Go check it out. Anyway, when I went through my reviews after I published it, like back when the Foundry first launched, there was one dude who would either give me a smiley face and a 5-star if he liked it, or a face with a tongue sticking out and a 1-star. And about half the missions I had smiley faces on, and the other half I had the tongue sticking out. And I was just like, why?
Constructive criticism.
No, it's not even telling me why you liked it or what you hated about it. And
oh.
It kind of made me smile at first, because like, that's a unique way of reviewing the mission. But I could see in another case where somebody just goes, wow. Especially because it was only one dude, and I have enough plays that one guy complaining isn't going to, like, one troll isn't going to lower my score. But off the bat, for some missions out there, 1-stars from stuff like that can really hurt a Foundry author.
Not only do you have to have constructive criticism, negative thing, that's pretty obvious, what you didn't like about the mission, but do constructive criticisms on positive things.
Yeah.
What you really liked about the mission, what you would like to see in the mission for the rest of the series. Negative, that's obvious. Positive, I recommend that, because it'll give the author some idea of what their missions are like, and what people like about the mission, and what kind of speciality they're geared towards. So it'll gear their future missions towards more of that kind of thing.
So I take a creative writing class, and so when we go to review other people's work and help them out with it to say how they could improve it or what's working, we use a format called the bless, press, and address. Bless is pretty much just giving the author what works in their piece and what they like about it. Press is when an author asks for what's not working in a mission. Constructive criticism, not this sucks. They want to know, what can I do to improve the piece? And then address is basically addressing one other thing, but that's not important for when we talk about this. But for this, I'd say a combination of bless and press. Tell them what's working, because authors always want to hear what's working in a mission to make them feel better. Because, come on, we all want to hear what people like about a mission. But also, we also want to, some other authors out there want to hear what's not working and what can they improve on in the future. So that's an important thing to look at too. So, again, the box you are given is very small. You only get like 180 characters, so it can be hard to fit all that in. If you can fit it all into that box, try to. If you can't, PM the author and give them a full write-up there. That's the way to go about it. Right, so definitely, yeah, so PM if you run out of space. I don't think I could come up with an interesting way to say that like the other stuff. Anyway, also another one I want to throw in here. If you feel a mission deserves a 1-star, explain why, other than just saying stupid mission. Because if I don't enjoy a mission but I see there's quality there, I will give it 2 stars. I avoid 1-stars unless I really have problems with the mission. But so if you're going to give a 1-star, make sure you really feel like I have to give this a 1-star, because there are a lot of issues with it. And always give a reason why.
One of those issues should probably go on to the next point, actually. That is bullet points of a mission, if it has descriptions of what type of things you could to expect in a mission. Such as a mission intended for a group, and then going in solo and complaining it's too hard. Well, of course it's too hard. It's meant for a group.
Yeah, and it's...
And as a result, authors should... Well, reviewers should first of all be prepared for any special equipment for the mission, and be prepared for any groups that may be labelled as difficult. If there is no such description in the mission at hand, feel free to blame the author.
Yeah.
But that's an author tip as well. Put these kind of descriptions, bullet points in your mission. That's always handy for a reviewer to expect what to comment. Is it a shuttle mission? Is it a group mission? What can I expect? Are the mobs difficult or not? That kind of thing.
Yeah, like there's missions out there I know that somebody tries to replicate an STF difficulty mission, where they'll stack groups up, which solo, because you got stupid boffs, it's almost impossible to take them out. But in group play, easy, or a little difficult, but still manageable. So in the description, they'll say this is STF difficulty. Bring a group. If you don't bring a group and are unable to do it, that's kind of going back to another tip. It's your fault. So don't dock the author for it, because he's telling you bring a group and bring good equipment on your characters, because it's going to be difficult. And same thing with complaining about, oh, this mission had no combat in it, when the author's telling you in the beginning this is a non-combat mission. The author, that's not giving them any good feedback when they're intending for this to be a non-combat mission. They're making this for an audience that enjoys that type of stuff. So it's not something they're going to take to heart when they see your comment going, oh, this didn't have any combat, I like combat missions. They'd be like, oh, then don't play it. I tell you, if you don't like non-combat missions, then this mission isn't for you. So those are 5 quick and easy tips for non-foundry authors into reviewing missions. Now there are tons more out there, and we're going to be covering how you can tell us some of your tips and community feedback. So why don't we just move on in so we can talk about that to community feedback.
Feedback, our final segment. We have a question for you this week. What tip would you give a non-foundry author reviewing a player-authored content? We had a discussion about this earlier. Give us your feedback in the show, comment, email, or post it in a thread that we set up the question.
Yeah, so yesterday when I was talking with Wee about this, because we got this idea pitched to us from our fleet member Nikki. You might have seen her on Stoked. But so she pitched this idea of giving out tips to people who aren't foundry authors, but review the missions. So like, hey, that's a great idea. So we also want to hear from you, though, because, of course, at first we're like, what tips will we give? Because it was a little hard to think these up. But then it was like, oh, once we start getting our brain juices flowing, we came up with a few ideas. But there's probably more out there that authors could give. So leave a comment in the thread. It will be linked in the show doc for this episode, where you can post your comment in the thread, or just leave a comment in any of the episode areas you're watching this, or email us at foundryfiles@gmail.com. You can also send us your missions there. We actually are playing one tomorrow that's been submitted to us there, so that might be a future review. And also send us your trailers there, because the trailer contest is ending next Friday. So,
well, this Friday when it's released.
Yeah, so
the next Friday coming up.
Yeah, so when you're watching this episode on Tuesday or whenever, the Friday that's coming up that week is the deadline.
That's your last chance. Yeah,
so like Friday I'm going to make it 3 p.m. EST, because that's when we sit down to plan out the show. That is your deadline to get your trailer into us. And what's up for rewards again? 4 mirror ships. The winner gets to pick 2. Second place gets the other 2. Elite a DOF code, and your mission gets reviewed that next episode of Foundry Files. Requirements are: it must show off gameplay footage from your Foundry mission and have a length of at least 45 seconds. I believe that is it.
Oh yeah.
So, thank you everybody for watching this week's episode of Foundry Files. It was a blast once again to cover a Foundry mission that was awesome. Next week, of course, we will be covering the trailer mission, so I'm excited to see what that one will be. I think that's it. Hopefully we get some news too. I'm hoping for news. Will we get any? We'll find out.
Hopefully.
But anyway, thanks for watching this week. We'll see you next week. Nice. You totally got that from Spud. Funny. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no, wee wee. He's gone. No! You either kill 5 things or whatever. ground maps were pretty good too. I liked it. Uh-oh. 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 Wee Wee's gone again. Here Wee Wee goes. Bye, Wee Wee. Here he goes. Bye. Uh-oh, there goes Wee Wee. Bye, Wee Wee. Oh, I fixed it. Dude! Dude! Wee Wee! Dude,
What?
I held up the sonic screwdriver to the monitor, pressed the button, and you came right back. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, and that's on camera. Alright. You were saying positive.